Borders are geographical boundaries separating regions for political or legal rights. International borders separate countries. There have always been disputes around the world arising from vague and improper boundaries. Disputes have also occurred due to claim of region, and historically, rivalry from such condition has made the border extremely hostile and unsafe. Forces are kept along the borders to safeguard in dire situations. Many lives have been lost from battle, wars, shootings, and violence. So, which are the dangerous borders in the world today, you might ask? So, here we are with a list of 10 most dangerous borders in the world, some of which has heavy military presence and is highly volatile. Starting with number 10, we have Saudi Arabia and Yemen. They have a border of 1,800 kilometers, which approximately 1,100 miles. The Saudi-Yemen barrier is a structure filled with concrete which stands 10 feet in height. This acts as a security barrier which was built in 2003 in order to stop terrorism and infiltration. The border conflicts between two nations dates back to 2015. An armed conflict broke open between the troops of Saudi Arabia and Houthi insurgents in the border. In 2016, Yemeni forces fired 70 missiles and mortar shells, killing over 10 Saudi troops, and in 2017, the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels launched a missile that hit Riyadh. Thousands of lives have been lost due to the border conflicts between the two nations. It remains as one of the most dangerous borders in the world today. Number 9. Sudan and South Sudan. The relationship between Sudan and South Sudan has been distressed and poor from the beginning. The Helgate crisis is the most famous dispute between the two, as South Sudan shares a border of 1,937 kilometers with Sudan. Before the Helgate crisis, South Sudan got its independence from Sudan in 2011, and in 2005 the two signed a peace treaty which ended the Second Sudanese Civil War. The peace treaty didn't last for long, unfortunately. In 2012, the two nations went to war with each other in what is known as the Helgate crisis. The crisis left millions homeless and displaced. Several people lost their lives after the crisis in 2013. South Sudan went its own civil war. Today, the border region is highly unpredictable and unstable due to various reasons, past violence, and relationship between the two nations. Number 8. Niger and Chad. Niger-Chad border is home to one of the deadliest terror organizations, Boko Haram. Due to the fear of an attack from Boko Haram, thousands of people have fled from Niger to Chad. The entire region surrounding Niger and Chad is unsafe and unstable due to Boko Haram. The two countries share a border of 1,196 kilometers. Several areas across the borders are unsafe, prone to bandits, and extremely remote. Niger and Chad forces have come together to fight the Boko Haram, making the border one of the most dangerous in the world. The border experiences several instances of violence, attacks, trafficking, and banditry. Number 7. Iran and Iraq. The relationship between Iran and Iraq has always been unstable. Iran has been proved times and times again that it is almost impossible for Iraq to invade. Iran has nuclear weapons and the number of nuclear warheads on missiles is unknown. The two nations fought several wars. All the wars were won by Iran because Iraq couldn't conquer what was required. The two countries went to war for border issues. They share a large 1,458 kilometers border from Shatt al-Arab River to Tri-Point boundary with Turkey. The conflict between nations lasted for 8 years, which ended in a stalemate. A total of 500,000 soldiers lost their lives due to the war between two nations. The border also experiences illegal smuggling and violence related to smuggling. And after the border issues, wars and loss of lives in the two countries signed a UN peace treaty, but the dispute still continues. Number 6. India and Bangladesh. They both share a border of 4,156 kilometers or 2,582 miles in length, which is the fifth longest land border in the world, and due to the border-prone nature, many illegal activities happen. Very small portions of the border are fenced. The main problem for India is tackling the illegal smuggling of livestock, medicine, foods, and drugs from India to Bangladesh. India also faces the problem of illegal migration from Bangladesh to India, and the Indian border patrols have in place a controversial shoot-on-sight policy which has led to the loss of lives. There are reports of border skirmishes between Indian Border Security Force (BSF) and the Border Guards Bangladesh. In 2009, there were reports coming from news channels about the killings of several Bangladesh by the BSF along the Indo-Bangladeshi barrier. The main purpose of the barrier was to stop cross-border terrorism. And in the 21st century, the report says about the deaths of thousands of Bangladeshis. And due to the border's high volatile nature and indiscriminate shootings, this border is one of the most dangerous one in the world. Number 5. USA and Mexico. It's one of the most dangerous borders in the world. It's simply because of the power of US armed forces and the rough terrains, isolated deserts, and uninhabitable lands across the border. The length of the border is 1,954 miles, or 3,145 kilometers. Illegal border crossing from Mexico to U.S. have been a problem to the U.S. government, and today it is not just the case. The security is extremely tight and illegal people migrations have pushed to isolate regions to cross. The Border Patrol team has rescued many people, recovered bodies and skeletons across the isolated regions, and the U.S. has also plans of building wall across the border. The Rio de Grande Valley is where one of the borders is considered the most dangerous border region in the U.S. Illegal smugglers and people are left to die while the Border Patrol team is busy fighting the drug cartels. Several hundred died trying to cross the border. More than 50,000 people have died since 2007 in Mexico trying to cross the borders. El Paso, Texas has been named the most dangerous border town in the United States in 2011. Two Mexico cities, namely Tijuana and Juarez along the U.S. border have become the most dangerous cities in the country. These two border cities see the highest rates of crime such as drug smuggling, drug cartel violence, weapon violence, and homicides. Number 4. Pakistan and Afghanistan. The border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is one of the most volatile in the world. The countries are in the several region disputes. The border between Pakistan and Afghanistan is known as the Durand Line, which is 1,510 miles. The line between the Pashtun ethnic homeland between the two countries, and due to this division, there are disputes in the borders. Historically, Afghan has resisted Pakistan from fencing the Pashtun region. Several attacks by the Afghanistan and Pakistan army has been carried out to near the borders, due to which the presence of terror outfits like Taliban in the region. Pakistan has been severe on cross-border terrorism, illegal smuggling of goods, and to control armed traffic. Israel and Syria. The border between Israel and Syria is dangerous due to the increasing instability in Syria and terrorism. In 1923, a consensus between the United Kingdom and France created the borders for present-day Syria and Israel. The border was drawn by British mandate of Palestine and the French mandate of Syria. The dispute between the two nations due to the region known as Golan Heights, for which many decades both the countries claimed Golan Heights as theirs, while in 1981, Israel annexed the Golan Heights with the Golan Heights Law. The UN considers this region as Israeli occupied. Both the countries have fought several wars and are technically at war even today. There have been no peaceful results yet, but several lives have. Number 2. North Korea and South Korea. The border between North Korea and South Korea is a strip of 250 kilometers long. The zone is known as DMZ, or Korean Demilitarized Zone. The history of the border dates back to 1953, while the border was established by agreement between North Korea, China, and the UN. It is one of the most militarized zones on Earth, and as the border between the two nations serves as a buffer to conduct peace talks and negotiations. The border is one of the most dangerous in the world, and due to which its high volatile nature, more than 1 million soldiers are deployed in this region, and there have been severe casualties in and around the DMZ. If you were to take a trip to this border, you will encounter live barbed wires, tank mines, minefield incursion tunnels, and heavy weaponry. At the center of the DMZ buffer is a military. Number 1. India and Pakistan. The two nuclear nations share a border of approximately 2,900 kilometers or 1,800 miles with extreme weather and difficult terrain. The history of the border dispute and enmity of both the nations dates back to 1947, when both the countries got their independence from the British Raj. Numerous conflicts and disputes have risen after the partition of India. The two countries have seen three deadly wars at the partition, where the total casualty have been more than 20,000. Due to a variety of terrains and inhospitable regions of this border, it is one of the most complex borders in the world, and it's the only border seen from space due to 150,000 floodlights installed by India along the border. The tension between the two nations have always been compared to an electricity-like wire. Both claim Kashmir as their territory and have been fighting for the same. They have also fought for the glacier in the region, as Kashmir is one of the most militarized regions in the world, as thousands of soldiers are deployed by both the armies along the border. There have always been shelling on both the sides, due to which several lives have been lost in the past. India and Pakistan border is the most dangerous border in the world today. So that's all this for today. Till next time.